All right, so to open Jupyter Notebook, if you are using Jupyter Notebook, it is important that uh, keep in mind uh, sorting out your directory where your files and etc. are saved on your PC. So um, if you know where your file is located, just go to the folder and just click on the address bar like this and type CMD. This is one way to open Jupyter Notebook. Um, and if you open Jupyter Notebook in that way, you don't need to define um, your uh, directory to Jupyter Notebook anymore. So type CMD and enter. So you will see a panel like this would be open. So just type Jupyter space notebook and again enter. Okay, so your Jupyter Notebook would be open like this. All right. Uh, remember, Jupyter Notebook is web-based, and you should see it in a browser like this. So uh, I'm going to open one of the notes and start talking about importing libraries and installing libraries as mentioned in the classroom. So first of all, as you see here in the Jupyter Notebook, you will see some options on top like files, edit, view, insert, cell, kernel, um, which we will find out and figure out what each of them means and what they do. Basically, I wanted to start everything, my kernel. So I'm going to restart and clear outputs, all of them. So if I press this one, as you see, the outputs would be disappeared. The codes that I wrote before are still there. So in the first step, let me talk briefly about Jupyter Notebook. As you see, the framework is very straightforward. If you want to write a code, you can add a line. Just press the button, this button, plus button, as you see, insert cell. So a new cell will appear below the current cell. You can replace it or um, move it up or down like this. Okay. So I don't need this cell. I'm gonna cut it or delete it. All right. So we are going to write down codes in the cells. And remember, when you open new cell, it is in the code mode. But if you want to change it to, for example, heading, you can select heading and just press OK and then press enter, shift enter. And as you see, uh, a title or heading will appear here. Okay. So it is up to you. How do you want to show things in your Jupyter Notebook? If you add hash, actually you can change the font of the notes by putting more hashes and etc. And when you press or run, so everything would be changed. So Python for finance, and this is the top subtitle basically. And if you press it, it will be run. And then in this cell, again, I used the version of another version or mode of writing up in Jupyter Notebook, Markdown. So to change from code to Markdown. So basically, if you want to put titles, subtitles, you can use Markdown or headings here. So in the first step, we are going to talk about import module. So once you write down something on the cell, you have two options. Number one is to press run, or you can press shift enter. Both of them do the same thing. As I mentioned before, anyway, so you need to install libraries or modules first in your environment. And there are a bunch of important libraries that you need to install for different projects. Here, for this specific project, which is basically introduction, I'm going to install uh, a math library, NumPy library, and Pandas library. So uh, I'm going to delete or drop these hashes and install these libraries. Uh, Depends on your machine. Sometimes if you type pip install NumPy, it might not work. So it's better to put exclamation before pip and it will work, hopefully. So this is another important thing to mention here. So if you run these codes, so it takes a little bit time. Yeah, so either you receive a comment requirement already satisfied, it means that this specific library has been installed in your machine before. So basically, no need for further action. And once you install a library in your machine, you don't need to reinstall it anymore, any further in future for different projects. So that's why we put a hash in front of this code. It means that, so as you see, the code color will change from black to green. It means that it is not code anymore. It is actually a note. So if I press run now, nothing would be happened. The reason is that I don't need this code to be run because I have got libraries or required libraries already installed in my machine. Okay. But once you have installed libraries in your machine, for any project, you have to call them. This is something else. Uh, so library is in your machine, but for this project, I want to call the libraries to come to my machine, sorry, to my environment or this project environment. So the command for this is import. So import numpy as np. What is np is actually abbreviation. It could be anything. It could be XY. It could be ZL. It could be whatever you want to call it. Usually, we call it MP. So MP stands for NumPy. And the reason that we select or choose a kind of abbreviation for libraries is to make our codes uh, simpler and nicer. Instead of a big name like Pandas Data Reader, we prefer to choose simple and uh, small abbreviation in coding. So import NumPy as MP and import pandas as PD. These two libraries, in more than 90% of your projects, you need these two libraries. And the reason is that NumPy is a library which is used for working with numbers, arrays, and etc. And pandas is a library that would be used for um, making, reshaping data frames. So these two libraries are very important in Python. And also there's a library math. It is used for mathematical operation and etc. One more thing is that uh, when you install Python, some of the libraries by default installed in your machine. All right. So this is something you need to take into account as well. So Shift Enter, and I call the libraries come to the machine. So what is going on here? I received the error, no module name pandas. So any spelling issues, any spelling errors would be caught by the Python. So uh, try avoid be accurate in spelling. So now this code, 3 lines of codes in the cell are executed and the libraries are in my environment. So now I want to use the first library in math, and there's a function in this library, sqrt, which which simply does what? I mean, actually square root of the numbers, right? So I want to use library math, and there is a function named sqrt. So math.sqrt means I am ordering Python to call the function sqrt from library math and find out the answer of 25. So I'm going to use for coding in Python, when you call a specific function, you always use brackets, round brackets, not square brackets. It's very important. Take this one into account. So run it, you have got the answer. All right. Another way to call libraries is to, for example, call a specific function of a library. We don't need always to call whole library into our environment, but we can call specific functions of that library in our environment. So for example, instead of calling sqrt function from the library math, I can call the function itself. So from math, the library math, import sqrt. So in this case, I would have sqrt in my environment ready. So I'm going to put sqrt of 86, just that one, and it will calculate the answer. So I don't need to say math.sqrt anymore because I already just called the function to come to my environment, right? And again, you can put an abbreviation for your function. From math, import sqrt as S. So S represent sqrt function from library math. So if I put S81, it will calculate the answer for me. So you need to run this one first, and then this one, you have got the answer. So as you see, calling functions or libraries is very simple action in Python. Depending on our project, the task we want to do, we can call different libraries and different functions from those libraries to do things for us. And if you want to call all functions of a library in our environment, for example, all functions available in library math, I can use a star. So from math, import star. So in that case, all functions would be called into the environment. One of the functions is exponential. Exponential means E. So for example, math dot exponential of 0 means E in power of 0. What is the answer? Answer should be 1, right? Or I can simply say exponential of 0. Why? Because I already called all functions from the library math. So either you type this long one or short one. The answer is the same. There are plenty of different actually functions in the library math. One of them is GCD, for example, which is the greater common divisor of x and y. So if you remember from mathematics in your college and etc., if you want to find out the greatest common divisor of, for example, two number, we need to do blah, 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 blah. But here in the Python, there's a function GCD for two numbers, right? 64 and 36. If you click on it, it will calculate for you 4. So 4 is the greatest common divisor of x and y because 64 over 4 and 36 over 4, there is no residual for them, correct? And to see the other functions of each library, you can always use this comment, help math. So there is a function named help. It's a define, actually, is a function when you install your Python, it is there by default, help math. If you click on it, it gives you all available functions in the library math. So that's the first quick topic on how import modules and functions into the Python